All right, I want to talk for a minute about the coronavirus, which is now, causing people to freak out, and we have lost all sanity, it seems. And I also want to say I am concerned. People are taking this either way too seriously. They're freaking out and making choices that could have great repercussions, and then there's people that are just taking this super lightly. And I think we have to have a balance. For those that are taking it too lightly, um, I understand that the coronavirus is more serious than the flu, about what I'm going to say. But I have concerns. Our church has been shut down. We've taken the government's advice, and we are not meeting publicly. In fact, to those of you that are part of our church, we are going to extend the quarantine for at least a week or two more into April. We're just going to do it indefinitely until we see how things go. And we will stream live on Facebook on Sunday morning at 10:45, and then I'll continue to post some videos and some sermon audios if you want to listen to them, and I'd encourage you to do that if you're part of our church. But I do have some concerns about the government and what they're doing right now. I don't believe that what they're doing in asking for this, quarantine is I think that's sincere, and I think it's wise for us to honor that. But I also think that depending on how far they take it, there could be cause for concern. There are businesses that are going to be, the more this progresses, businesses are going to close. And I'm very concerned about the relief. Overnight, we just went over $2 trillion more into debt, and we're already trillions of dollars more into debt. And we are so filled with fear and intimidation that I don't hear many people saying, wait a minute, where are we getting this money from? If you and I operated our households like the government operates the government, oh, wait a minute, many do. And look what's happening. America is over their eyeballs in debt. And it's going to have, you reap what you sow. You cannot live indefinitely above your means and go deeper and deeper into debt and not have an earthquake happen in your own personal finances. Years ago, an author, Larry Burkett, wrote a book called The Coming Economic Earthquake, where he brought out biblical principles that of reaping and sowing and reaping, and that you cannot live and go deeper into debt and not have an earthquake. And he unwisely predicted 15 years, I think, when he actually gave the date when it would come, and it hasn't come because our economy is very resilient. But the principle's still there. We are going we're going deeper into debt. We do not know how to live within our means as a country. Something's going to happen if we don't change it. And the fact that we're going trillions of dollars into debt, where's that money coming from? Taxpayers. That really does concern me, that we just go further and further into debt. But that's not the purpose of this Pastor's Corner. I want to just back up and give perspective about COVID-19. And again, I'm going to mention the flu, and I know there's people that will immediately reject this, because I know that coronavirus is not influenza. But for the people that are taking advantage of the elderly and using fear to further an agenda, let's back up for a minute, step away, and get some perspective. Do you know that influenza has affected millions and millions of people? There were, in 2018, the last time, the full statistic, there were 80,000 deaths in America because of influenza, the flu. That's about 450 deaths a day. And worldwide, about 500,000 people die annually from the flu. It is the number one infectious killer, and it's and the ninth leading cause of death worldwide. And so that's the flu. Now, I understand, let me just say this, that the mortality rate, as alarming as that is, I mean, 450 people a day, that's enough. You know, maybe we should freak out about influenza, but the mortality rate of influenza is 0.1% of people. The mortality rate of the coronavirus is 0.4%. So I realize that coronavirus is 4 times more deadly, but so maybe we ought to be more concerned about the flu than we have been, because people get the flu, and not everybody gets the flu. In fact, there's millions of people get the influenza virus, and it doesn't affect them. Just like you might remember, you've heard doctors say this, that people will get the coronavirus, they'll be carriers of it, multitudes will be carriers of it, but show no symptoms, and it will not harm them because their body will fight it off, just like influenza. But we are treating this more serious virus as if it was the plague, and we are in danger of collapsing our economy. In fact, with what we're doing to businesses right now, and what the government is doing, and once again, free money for everyone, it's going to have serious ramifications. So let's get some perspective. Remember, God is in charge. Be not afraid of sudden fear, neither of the desolation of the wicked. You know what? Our life is in God's hands. We ought not to be unwise. But just listen to some of the vitriol that's out there. There is so much arrogance, hatred, animosity against people that don't take this as seriously as someone else might, or that maybe make it too late. But let's just step back and get some perspective. And let's not forget, Christian, God is in charge. Now, with that in mind, I want to challenge and remind those of you that are older, I want to remind you that there will be people that are going to use this fear in your life. And there are all kinds of scammers out there. In fact, the government just voted that they're going to be sending money out. Everyone's going to get X number of dollars. And everyone's like, "Ooh, this is great." But I want to remind you a couple things. In fact, this came out from the Federal Trade Commission just this morning or last night. 3 important things to keep in mind because of the fact that we are fearful. Number 1, the government will not ask you to pay for anything up front to get this money. Scammers do that. Don't forget that, not just with this, but with anything. Scammers want you to send them a check or give them money or give them your credit card information or your Social Security information up front. That ought to be a red flag. Please be careful of that. Number 2, the government will not call and ask for your bank account, Social Security, credit card numbers. That's what scammers do. So if somebody calls you and there are going to be people bombarding you, maybe with phone calls, do not give that information out, thinking that that's how you're going to get your money, because that's probably a scam. And then thirdly, the Federal Trade Commission says, or just keep this in mind, checks are not going out right now. So today, if you listen to this, the checks aren't going out right now. So just be really careful. You and I need to be diligent and aware that Satan is using and other people are using fear as a tactic to take advantage of us. So let's just sit back, take a breath, and trust the Lord. Thanks.